there's one major plank that I have, but there are a couple things that fall as a part of it. The accreditation that we are going through and will submit the report on October 15th has to be resolved once and for all. I don't believe that we should be on probation. I think that we made some mistakes to get on probation, so getting off of probation is number one priority. Number two priority is ensuring that we have fiscal stability on that campus. We're looking at a $29,850,000 cumulative deficit over the next 3.5 years. Three, we need to ensure that we can do whatever we can not to cut any more classes. There's not a week that goes by that I get a call from 3 or 4 parents, grandparents, nephews, asking me, what can we do to stop cutting these classes? So there's an equation between finance and cutting classes. Number 4, I think that we need to have a strong board. We have a board that could be a great board. I don't think that we've always gotten along. I think that if we put personal issues aside and could come together as a board, we could be a great board. I think that we have five pretty diverse personalities. 5, we are here for students. We are here to train students, to transfer students, to graduate students, and have them part of the workforce. So the accreditation is absolutely our number one and paramount issue right now, absolutely paramount. We were put on probation initially in June 30th of 2011. I feel, and there are others that feel, not everybody agrees with the fact that I would probably be public about this, that we got off to a slow start in trying to tackle what we had to do. We brought in Dr. Matthew Lee and Dr. Don Averill with PPL to kind of help us get through that first phase. That first phase was submitted and it came back, and then we had to make some additional work with it. The staff has come together. I had a hard time from a professional standpoint witnessing the fact that we had to pay some of our staff members extra money to do a job that I felt that they were paid for. I know that there are those in the educational sector that believe that they have certain, I don't know if you call it a moral responsibility to do certain things versus, well, my contract says we can't, the contract says that. I was born and raised that my boss would say you get the job done, and there was no written, there was a kind of an, in and out. Everybody came together at the end, and we'll get the report this next Tuesday night at our board meeting, and we're real excited about it. I hope that at minimum that we move off of probation, a warning. I think that we still have ways to go. The ACCJC is very, very tough. There are a lot of schools throughout the state that are going through this issue. We are no different. And the ACCJC is saying to boards like us and to institutions, these are the requirements, these are the rules, they play by the rules, we set the rules, and you got to do it our way. And I think that everybody now at the college understands that it's not the board establishing this, the ACCJC establishes it, and we have to come together as a team. And I think that we came together at the end. I was disappointed that it took a little bit longer to get there. But I think it's been a learning experience for all of us, and it's been a big learning experience for me, candidly. I've never been through this kind of a problem before. The most important role that the board plays is the selection of a president superintendent. From there, the second most important is to determine those goals and those things that we want the president superintendent to accomplish during the year. So some people believe that you can take your own personal agendas and try to work them on in. I had a couple of agenda items that I felt were really important. I felt that cameras were really important, so we got that taken care of. But the most important role that we do is to hire the president superintendent. Then the administration and the employees work for him. He works for the board. We help to define policy. We approve policy. We approve policy changes. But our most important role is to hire the president. I came in, I was appointed on February 1st of 2011. On February 2nd, we submitted the report to the ACCJC. We received, they came down in March of that year. We received our probation warning back in June. On page 58, I know that there are those at the board level that don't like this, but I do understand a little bit about finance. I mean, I run my own company, I run other companies, and I advise clients on the use of money and how they invest it. The college said to the ACCJC that it was there, that they were cognizant, it was on the top of page 58, that they would not exceed 80% of their budget on labor and benefits. Between the time that statement came out and now we're at 89 and change, we're close to 90%. Within 2 years, we'll be at over a little bit over 100%. So for every dollar we're bringing in, we're spending a dollar or two. Can't happen. We need a real strong reserve. We need to all sit down, roll up our sleeves. We need to sit down with all three of the groups on out there, the CTA and the CSEA and the AFT. Need to roll up our sleeves. I mean, really get down the table and say, okay, if we're not going to cut classes, what are we going to cut? And as I've said, and some people don't like this, you need to be able to sit down at the table like I'm looking at you, Giles, and saying, okay, let's look at each other in the eye. Is this about students or is this about money? Because ultimately we're all in this together. Remember, we've got $29,850,000 deficit we got to take care of. And the school's already cut $12 million. So, I mean, it's not like the administration hasn't cut. But if you've been in private sector business long enough, you understand that sometimes you cut, and then you have to cut, and you have to cut. I can't live the same way I did in 2005 when the real estate industry was doing well, and Bradco was closing a deal every single day. You just can't do it. So we have to learn to live within our means, and I think that's very tough. I will say this, that I'm a job creator. Okay, I'm proud that the Bradco companies and the other companies that we've been involved with and our associates over the course of 24 years, we've created about 10,000 jobs. You know, we lease a building, we sell a building. But there are some at the college that think I'm a job terminator, that I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut and cut and cut and cut. That's probably why the unions aren't supporting my campaign. I haven't asked for their support. What I've asked them to do is to sit down and let's have an honest dialogue and not talk about this. We have to deal with this. If we don't get the financial issues of Victor Valley College done, Victor Valley College is not going to be here. I graduated in 1979. In 1981, I had the privilege of working for three very successful men in Santa Barbara in a very successful real estate company. And we had to put together a zero-based budget that year. I think that we're almost going to need to do something similar to that over here. There's some philosophical issues with the short-term and long-term budget, and there are some very serious differences in the short-term reserves, our annual reserves, and what we should have. The ACCJC would like us to have a minimum of 5% reserve per year. Some people in the industry, I've talked to Dr. O'Hearn about this, said probably at 10% because I think that times are going to be tough for a while. The challenge is that the state's going through a very serious downturn. I believe the state's going to go through this downturn for the next 7 to 9 years. I believe that Prop 30 is probably not going to pass. We're going to take another $3 million hit. We have some long-term reserves in a fund called the Guaranteed Investment Contract. It's called the GIC. There are some philosophical differences on whether we should be using that to balance the budget, and I'm absolutely totally opposed to it. I felt I did my homework. I talked to the gentleman that set it up shortly after getting to VBC, and the ACCJC, when they came back in their initial report, spent 6 pages talking about the fiscal instability of the college, the fact that we should not be using the GIC. I just attended this past Thursday, the meeting that Tracy Davis put on with the Academic Senate. The Academic Senate is really a very powerful group. It's a cross-section of the CTA and the CSEA, the AFT. And they put together a document that's really kind of a living document called the Education Master Plan. And in there, they even talk about the fact that we need to ensure we don't use that. The challenge is this is real life. There's one thing for a couple to say, we're never going to tap our savings. It's another thing when they're out on a Saturday and they see that real beautiful car they're looking at and they say, you know what, if we only take 10 grand out of that 40,000, we'll put it back. Well, I think the temptation here is to say, we're going to use the GIC, we're going to use our long-term reserves to balance the budget. I'm absolutely opposed to that. I believe that one of the people running for this position may believe differently, that we should use it today. I don't think that's prudent. I think that we have to run this like a business. I think the taxpayers expect us to be running like a business. And I think that we need to be held accountable like a business. And I can tell you that if you were to go to the bank with our financials and say we're going to use the reserves, the banker wouldn't give you a loan. It just wouldn't happen. So I have voted against the budget twice. And I have voted against the budget because I just don't think that we are as prudent as we could be. This is bigger than a $64 question. We have some great people in finance. We have some great senior leaders at the college. They know my feeling about cutting classes versus all of us sitting down and saying, okay, what do we do for the best interest of the student? There are those that believe that you don't sit down with the different groups and say, we need to kind of rework some of our deals. The deals that we have in place with our groups right now, they're under contract. You can't do anything about that. If they come back and say, for the best interest of the college, I mean, you know, the firefighters just went through it. The public employees went through it. The county. I mean, everybody sat down and said, okay, well, we can't afford this. We can't afford this. How are we going to get through it? I can't, you know, on this TV show or through you say, hey, Giles, these are the methods, because that's negotiating the union's contract. That is not only illegal, but that is micromanaging. What I can say is the Valley's going to watch this, and they're going to watch what we do and how we do it. And that's got to be very transparent. And as a trustee, I will be sure that it's transparent. Now, I know that there are some people that say, well, you know, we don't like the fact, Joe, that you talk to members of the media, and you're not supposed to talk to the media, and you're not able to talk to business people. Well, that's just kind of the way it is. I take direction very, very well. But I think that the taxpayers, the students, the employees, when they ask you a question, they want an answer, and that's just that's the way it's going to be. Is there going to be pain in this? Absolutely. Is every city going through pain? I mean, think about when Jim Cox came back to Victorville. I mean, the greatest city manager probably ever ran a city here in the state of California had to come back and ultimately lay off 200 people. He didn't want to do that, but he had no choice but to keep things going. I don't want to lay off. As I've said, I'm a job creator. So I think that there's other ways to do that. People have to read through and say, okay, well, how, if you're not going to lay off, you know, maybe we all need to take a cut of some kind, cut back on the benefits. We have a very good benefit package, okay? We pick up 100% of the cost. But we can't take a 20% increase like we did this year, another $470,000, and just keep doing that every year. We can't do it. So eventually the trustees, again, getting back to one of your earlier questions, what is the role of trustee? To hire the president superintendent, to establish the policies by which they're going to run. And I think we need to send that message. We've said to the president and superintendent back in July, we adopted a 3-year balanced budget amendment. I call it a balanced budget amendment. We have to live by that. And we can't say that we want to do that and then fall short of not standing tall on issues that are politically sensitive but ensure our student success. We are there to educate students.
If the college does lose its accreditation, how does that affect the monies already allocated under Proposition JJ?
First thing, the college is not going to lose its accreditation. There's two things that are a sure thing in life: death and taxes. I think in this particular case, I could, you know, look at you, Giles, and say, listen, there are three things that are here: death, taxes, and the fact that VVC is not going to shut down. Okay, we're not going to lose our accreditation. I think that VVC losing its accreditation would be equal to me finding out that there's no money in Social Security. I would walk back to Washington, I'd crawl to Washington, and I would do what I have to be sure that the elected officials found that money. The school's not going to close. I think this has been a very grave lesson that hopefully we never have to go through again. There may still be some pain in this, but I don't see the as a taxpayer. I would not be concerned about the college closing, but I would be concerned that we never allow this to ever happen again. And so I think that the public pressure, and I have seen public pressure brought on. I've seen people now come to the meetings that we haven't seen. We have a resident in Spring Valley Lake who used to be in law enforcement, a very, very prominent person, a graduate. I mean, his wife graduated, he graduated, his son graduated, called me up one day and he said, Joe, this college is not going to close, and I'm absolutely adamant, and now this person's coming to all the meetings. And I think that sends a message. I think it sends a strong message to the board. I moved here in 1988, May of 1988, and I cut my first deal with Victor Valley Community College when Dr. Gould was president. I really felt, you know, with the help of people like Robert Lovingood and everybody else, that we needed to have an economic development council of some kind. And I felt that the college was a place to start because they had, you know, on job training and things like that. And so we went to the college. Ever since then, we tend to roll over a president about every 2 years. That's not good. Other presidents of other colleges know that VVC has a fairly high turnover. I fault that, and candidly, I've had turnover in my company in the past. Every once in a while, you have to look at yourself and say, am I the cause? And I think that if you do not have a strong board, you do not have a strong board that is unified, you can have 5 very strong personalities that are going in 5 different directions. The sense is that a president doesn't want to work there. So we need to have, our board needs to be strong in its conviction. We need to attract the right leaders at all levels within the college. And we need to stay out of the politics that come with it. I mean, all the different groups out there want to have their own person in there, and they've interviewed. And this is a business. This is a business about taking care of 12,000 students and a $60 million budget, and so there's been a lot of turnover, and it's really a shame because the industry knows it. This is not something that's new. The industry knows that VVC's had a big turnover. I believe that Victor Valley College, from time to time, has done a great job in the 24 years I've lived in the high desert by reaching out to the business community. There's about 10,000 businesses out in the region here that we monitor. The area that we monitor is 1,700 square miles, but some of our boundaries are a little bit different at the Bradco companies than at VVC. We need to reach out and talk to our business partners about the training that they need and what kind of monies that they can help us with. We're not going to be able to do this alone. Ginger Ontiveros at the foundation has done just a stellar job. I mean, she's just got one of the best group of people down there. Kathy and James, a whole bunch of them. Every single person down there, Sierra Orr. I mean, they are all rolling together, and they're out looking for money. That's how we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to create that long-term model and say we're not going to be dependent upon this. We're not going to be dependent. We're going to be dependent upon all these on out here. But I think that I believe, and again, I think that there are those that may disagree, that are not in the business community. I'm in the business community. Joe Range is in the business community. The other 3 are 2 are in the educational community. One's retired. People in our community want us to reach out to them, and they want to be a part of our college. It's kind of like family, and I think we need to do a whole lot better job doing that. And I'm sure that question has offended some at the college. And again, I need to tell the truth rather than trying to just brush this underneath the table. Victor Valley Community College District just passed its 50th year. We convinced the voters to pass a $297 million bond back in 2008. We have a great school. We have some great students. We have some great teachers. We have some great staff. We have some great employees. We have a great region. But this region has been hit really hard by this depression. I think we're in a global downturn. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. 35% of our economy now is on welfare food stamps. I think our real unemployment is at 22%. We have some incredible programs at our college. I mean, from the music program, the nursing program, the aviation program, we just have some great programs. We need to figure out a way to operate more efficiently. The world of schools has changed. How these hybrid classes, these online classes. I would like to see, the one thing I would really like to see, if there were one goal for the first year of next year, is that our board really make a cognizant effort to work better together. We don't necessarily have to like each other, and that's okay. We have 5 very different personalities. But I think we need to show a little bit more respect. I don't think that we can undermine each other. I don't think we can attack each other. I think we have to work together, and I think that we have to keep our kind of our head on the ball, that this is about one thing. It's about students, about student success. It's about increased graduation rates, transfer rates. Those things build into the success of the college. They build into the success of our economy, and then probably from a selfish side, it helps my company, it helps my competitors, whether they be with Lee or Cole Banker or Century 21 Fairway or MGR Real Estate. Go out and attract other companies that want to come here. Companies want to come to an area that has an educated workforce, and that's real important. So it motivates me to do that, and I like the opportunity, and hopefully the voters will give me that opportunity to be elected, and I can take away I'm the appointed trustee, which I'm reminded by by at least one of our trustees, and be the trustee that I know that I can be, and bring the leadership to the college that I think that the college deserves.